talk about interesting things you can do in Ukraine. But how you can come to Ukraine? There are different legal ways to do it. First of all, we are here in the center of Kiev at the Sofia Ploshcha, and I'm going to talk about the permanent and temporary residence permits in Ukraine. For people who arrive to Ukraine, they can stay only for 90 days, within 180 days. And this period starts from the first arrival to Ukraine. What you should do first when you arrive to Ukraine. People who arrive to Ukraine can apply either for temporary or permanent residence permit. They can do it in the state migration office. What are the reasons you can apply for such a document? First of all, if you arrive to Ukraine to work, you can receive a temporary residence permit. Or if you study in Ukrainian university or do some kind of training. Other reasons may be a unification with a family member who already lives in Ukraine and has a permanent residence permit. Or if you are married to a Ukrainian citizen, you can receive such a document too. Also, it is connected to work. If you work in some kind of international organizations who work in Ukraine, or regional offices of companies or banks who have representations here, you can apply for such a document. And also, if you do some kind of scientific, educational or other work in Ukraine, or you are a volunteer in international organizations, you can apply for a document too. And the last reason may be if you are a representative of a foreign media, you're a journalist or correspondent, you can do this too. In order to apply for such a document, you need to go to the state migration office and you need to prepare a pack of documents. First of all, you need an application to register for a temporary residence permit. Then you need to provide a valid passport of a foreign citizen, or if you don't have any citizenship, it should be a document that confirms the absence of citizenship. You just show this document and take back to you. Also, you need to provide a copy of the first page of your passport and also the page of the passport that has a state border stamp that you arrived to Ukraine on a legal basis. You also need to provide a copy of your first page of the passport with a notarized Ukrainian translation. The other documents will be photographs. It's a regular size and you need to provide 4 of them. Medical insurance, you also need to have it if you arrive in Ukraine. And such valid documents as registration as a taxpayer number. If you don't have such a certification, it's okay. It's not obligatory. And you need to provide a receipt that you paid a state fee. And the last but not the least will be the request from a receiving party. If someone invited you to Ukraine, you can provide a document that states such an invitation. If you collect all these documents, you can go to the state migration office and apply for a temporary residence permit. The temporary residence permit will be valid for 3 years. In addition to all the documents that I already mentioned, you need to provide a special documents for each category of people who arrive to Ukraine. For example, if you arrive to work in Ukraine, you need to provide a work permit issued by a regional employment center, or you can provide an employment contract with your employer which states your position. Also, if you arrive to study or train in Ukraine, you can provide a document that confirms that you are studying in Ukrainian university. For people who are doing unification of a family, they need to provide information about the members of the family with valid data about their names and about their relationships, and also the documents that proves the financial stability of the family. It can be a bank statement or a certificate from work about the salary. And for example, if you are married to a Ukrainian citizen, you should be providing a marriage certificate. The other group of people who arrive to Ukraine arrive to work. They work in international organizations, in different companies and banks, or volunteer. They also need to provide a special document that states that this organization, bank or company are registered in Ukraine and they are legal. This is the additional document they need to provide, a copy or original of a registration certification. Also, if you arrive to volunteer in Ukraine, either in international or regional volunteering service, you need to provide a copy of a registration of such a volunteering organization. And if you do some scientific, cultural or other educational work, you need to provide a statement or registration certification of a unit of organization that does such activity in Ukraine. And the last is for representatives of foreign media or press or journalists. You need to provide press credentials as a journalist, and also the request from the National Television and National Broadcasting Company of Ukraine that they want you to receive such a temporary residence permit. There is also one very important thing that you should remember. All the individuals who arrive to Ukraine only can come to Ukraine in accordance to the Ukrainian immigration law. And even those people who already have a permanent or temporary residence permit, it can be cancelled. Why? Because there are several reasons for this. First of all, if the person who applied for such documents no longer meets the requirements of Ukrainian legislation, the document can be cancelled. Or if the person came to Ukraine, they had some goal, and the goal was already met, they no longer need to stay in Ukraine, and they don't need a temporary residence permit. Also, if the person was listed in the list of undesirable people in Ukraine, non-grated people, or the person is a threat to national security or a public order in Ukraine, of course this document will be cancelled and the person even may be deported. Also, if the person who was applying for such a document gave the false information or some fake documents during the application, after that the document will be cancelled. Also, if the person was listed in the list of undesirable people in Ukraine or persona non grata, they will not be allowed to stay in Ukraine and their permanent or temporary residence permit will be cancelled. And if the person has some problems with taxes, for example, they didn't pay their taxes, they have some debts in Ukraine, they will not be allowed to stay here in the territory of Ukraine. And the last reason will be if the person has some kind of infectious disease and they don't want to be treated, there is such a thing as compulsory treatment for such people, and in such cases their temporary or permanent residence permit will be cancelled. What about if you want to arrive to Ukraine for a longer period of time, not only for 3 years? This is an immigration and only certain individuals can arrive to Ukraine to be an immigrant. This is established by the Cabinet of Ministry of Ukraine and there is some special quota. There are special types of people who can arrive for immigration. First of all, it's people who are representatives of culture, education or other types of people whose immigration to Ukraine is beneficial to the national interest of Ukraine. Also, people who invested in Ukrainian economy more than $100,000 can be given a permanent residence permit. And also people who already had in previous time the Ukrainian citizenship can have such a type of immigration. The second group is family. For example, if you arrive to Ukraine as a foreign member of a family and you are married to Ukrainian citizen, you will be receiving a permanent residence permit. Also, parents, siblings, grandparents and grandchildren of Ukrainian citizens can receive a permanent residence permit. And guardians or people who are under the guardianship of Ukrainian citizens can also receive this type of document. And as we are approaching this beautiful building of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, it would be good to talk about the process of immigration to Ukraine. And the last group of people who can apply for a permanent residence permit is people who already in previous time had Ukrainian citizenship, for example, or they have the right to Ukrainian citizenship because they were born in the territory of Ukraine. And also people who are foreign Ukrainians with their spouses, kids who are under 18, if they arrive to Ukraine in groups and enter the Ukrainian territory, can apply for such a type of document as a permanent residence permit. When you apply for a permanent residence permit, you can receive it in the diplomatic or consular offices or the state migration offices of Ukraine. Usually the procedure for application for a temporary residence permit takes up to 15 days and for permanent residence permit takes a little bit less, for 7 days. So if you are lucky to receive a permanent residence permit, you will be able to have it as a plastic ID card with the electronic media on it. In some cases, the person is not so lucky and their permanent residence permit is denied. Why it can happen? There are 5 reasons for this. First of all, if the person is a threat to national security or public order in Ukraine. The second reason can be if the person is a threat to a public health or legal rights of citizens of Ukraine. In some cases, if the person, for example, gave some false information or fake documents during the application process, this would be the third reason for denying the permanent residence permit. And sometimes if the person didn't pay their taxes or they didn't comply with the decision of the court in their country or other state official, they will be denied such a document. So these were the reasons why a person will not be given a permanent residence permit. If you comply with all the requirements of Ukrainian law and you give all the documents with the application, you will be lucky to stay in Ukraine for a longer period of time and considered as an immigrant to Ukraine. Thank you for your attention. This was a really nice day in the center of Kyiv, and now you know how you can legally come to Ukraine. Thank you all. I hope you really liked this video, and if this information was useful for you, you can like it and subscribe to our channel to get more cool and useful information.